All glories to Srila Gurudeva, and all glories to Swami B.P. Puri Maharaj for giving this treasure in the form of a book called Art of Sadhana. Last week, we actually covered on the Guru and initiation. So logically following, today we will cover the chapter 8, that is duties of an initiated disciple. As we will see, there are many strict rules and prohibitions an initiated devotee must follow. So it may be little bizarre sometimes, but the thing is, this is the fact. As we really go through, there are a lot of reasons behind. So this is just a summary of our last class. So what were the facts that we really brought up? Taking shelter of Krishna means taking shelter of Guru. And absolute need of initiation, because without initiation that we will become animalistic life. And also very importantly, we also learned that Diksha burns all our past sins. This is a very important point. And also Diksha enables deity worship, and also we saw the importance of Shraddha and Guru Seva. So what are the actions is accept a Guru and take initiation and have full faith in Guru and perform Guru Seva. So now, before getting into today's topic, here are few preludes that I would like to present. If we see this world, how many Krishna devotees are actually can be found here? Very, very rare. I'm just adjusting the volume a little bit here. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah. So, so hardly anyone, because most of them are immersed in sense enjoyment. That is why it's very hard to find a Krishna devotee. And the Shastras say that sense enjoyers have no way of attaining Krishna. This is a very strong statement. So what it is saying is, Jikvara lalase yei iti uti daya shishnodara parayana Krishna nahi paya. Someone who runs back and forth out of a desire to please his tongue becomes attached to the belly and genitals and will never attain Krishna. What this means is that in order to get to spiritual world, the very first thing is to control our greedy senses. When one begins to control their ever-demanding senses, slowly the advancement in spiritual life happens. That eventually leads to initiation, accepting a spiritual master. This state of spiritual progression is called Sat Achara. Sadva Shina Doshastu Sach Sapta Sadhu Vachagaha Tesham Acharanam Yattu Sat Acharaha Sa Uchyate. So what is said to be as a Sachachara? Because when we really control our senses and engage in spiritual path, then you become going towards to sadhu. So a Sat Achara means a sadhu who is one whose fault have been eliminated. The word Sat here, Sat, refers to the sadhu. And the behavior of the sadhus is therefore known as Sat Achara. So in order for us to progress, we need to surrender and follow a Vaishnava who possesses this Sat Achara. So initiation and spiritual sadhana are only for those fortunate ones, not for everyone. So this is possible only for the human beings, not for the animals. Now, talking about initiation, there are different kinds of initiations. One is Harinama initiation. This is the easiest. It allows one to chant the Mahamantra every day. This is the entry into the spiritual life, controlling the senses and all those. There are 4 rules are there to really follow. What are they? No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit marital relations. So, anytime when he really takes the Harinama, this is what the initiating Guru will first settle. Will you follow this one very strictly? Right? So, initially, okay, then also, a mala will be given and then the devotee will start chanting. So initially one can start with just one round and gradually increase the number of rounds. So when one goes to higher, like let us say 8 or even 16, then they can really take to Diksha initiation. But before that, there is also a intermediate stage. It's called Gopala Mantra initiation. So this is the intermediate stage before Diksha. It makes one qualified to worship deities. Because unless you have Gopala Mantra or Diksha, you have no right to really worship the deities. No, nothing. No. Even just having the Harinama is not entitling you to really do deity worship. So Gopala Mantra entitles you to do deity worship. Okay? So, but you will get only one mantra called Gopala Mantra or called Krishna Mantra. So also when one gets a Gopala Mantra, he or she needs to do Sandhya Vandana. That means every 3 times in a day. Early morning at the Brahma Muhurta before the sunrise, and at the noon when the sun is right on the top, and then at the sunrise. These 3 times you have to tell the mantra 10 times each time. Okay, so this is the thing. Now the third one is, which is actually called Diksha initiation. It's the full initiation. One gets 8 or 9 mantras. If one is a male, he will get 9, otherwise 8. So and must do Sandhya Vandana 3 times a day. So every mantra you get, you have to really do that. Okay, 10 times each mantra. The others are Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. Vanaprastha accepts special renounced dress, usually bright saffron color or saffron, and can stay at home. It's not big. The only thing is mentally he has to be completely detached from the family affairs. A sannyasi gets saffron dress and Gopi mantra. The sannyasi must not live in the home, but only in ashram or in the forest, preferably in the forest. But now where is the forest? So an ashram. Sannyasa is the highest attainment one can get. Now these levels of initiations are steps towards attaining Krishna. The devotee slowly renounces material life and progresses towards a spiritual life. For this renouncement, the Lord sees the dedication and he reciprocates. How does the Lord reciprocate? This is a very important point here. Why should we really take a spiritual life? If one gets initiation and becomes a Kanistha Adhikari, means you got the Nama, Harinama and then start chanting. He's a Kanistha Adhikari. Lord, what does Lord do? He liberates 7 generations of that person before and 7 generations after. They all will be liberated. Look at the power what Krishna is actually giving. And then if one is a Madhyama Adhikari, Madhyama Bhakta, means what? He has taken Diksha and he is also preaching. Lord liberates 14 generations before and after. And if one further advances to Uttama Bhakta, that means Acharya level, Lord liberates 21 generations before and after. This means the whole town is going there. See, you see the way structure, father, mother, then again their sisters, brothers. So you take, you see the tree structure. Entire, one town equivalent to a population of a town is actually going to be liberated. Look at how he's actually reciprocating. Because people may think, why should I really, to take Diksha? But that is, you are actually at the loss. So it is also said that any ancestor living in hell or other plane like Pitraloka, wherever, that one Krishna Bhakta in their ancestry, and when they hear about it, they dance. They dance, jumping and jumping. Why? Because this Krishna Bhakta is going to deliver so many generations before and after. This is the power of initiation and becoming a Krishna Bhakta. These facilities not at all there for any other worship of any god. They cannot do it. In fact, any other god has to get the permission from Krishna only, as it is said in the Bhagavad Gita. Does not matter who really worship, but finally it has to be sanctioned only by Krishna. But when he becomes initiator and then gets under, become a Krishna Bhakta, look at what Lord is doing. And when one takes sannyasa, some people misunderstand. They say, he's running out of his duty. Look at here, he has to take care of these and wife and children. But actually he is a sacrificial lamb. He is really taking that sannyas to deliver whole ancestry. He is sacrificing his life. Not only sacrificing, he is actually devoting to the Lord. He is actually doing a biggest favor forever. So we have to understand that. He is actually taking a big sacrifice. Now let us get back to initiations. Here is a very important aspect of initiation. There are two things, like qualified and unqualified initiations. If we see our parampara, we won't see that many acharyas, they are giving initiations. They are very reluctant to give initiations. You know the story of initiation of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. He was literally crying, and he said, I am going to kill myself if you are not giving initiation to me. Begging to Gaurakishore Das Maharaj. But only by recommendation from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gave. Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a guru of Sri Gaurakishore Babaji, so he has to obey. Otherwise, he said, I am not going to really initiate anyone. So also we see the same thing about Sri Narottam Das Thakur. His guru, Loknath Goswami, refused to give. Then he used to really clean the place where he was passing stools and everything. So usually, they give only one disciple. Or maybe a few, not more. So only when one's Gurudeva, there is only one exception is, when a Gurudeva orders his disciple that yes, you should give initiation, and yes, you bring this many flowers. You give this many, he orders. Then only he is qualified. Not like just like that, oh yeah, I am a bhakta and I can. No, it doesn't work that way. And that is a qualified or authorized initiations. Right? So, now what is unqualified initiation? Many ways. The disciple is not ready and he is not begging for initiation. The disciple is looking only for his fame and name. Or the disciple is egoistic and will not surrender to a guru. So this is the thing. But once one is really initiated, and if that disciple is really fully surrendering the disciple, right, making himself as a lowest position, then the mercy from Guru flows to for him like crazy. You cannot even get from out of your two hands. So how that happens is, like a water flows from high level to the low level, because the disciple is positioning as the lowest of the lowest, and compared to in front of Guru, he thinks that I am a fool. Then the mercy starts flowing. That is why Lord Krishna has put the mercy on the foot of his disciples. Because people know nobody will go there. The egoist will never go there. So lower the disciple feels, the more forceful the flow of mercy will be. Now getting initiation is a major step in one's life. I told you, not only you are burning all the sins, you are saving your big and all the ancestors. What big is than this one? So getting initiation is actually very major step. But only very fortunate will take initiation, because their ego will stop. But it also comes with the duties, because no pain, no gain. So this chapter is all about that. Duties include doing Sandhya Vandana, meditating on the received mantra 3 times of the day, morning in the Brahma Muhurta, mid-noon, and then the sunset. How strict is to do the Sandhya Vandana? Labdvaha mandram tuyo nityam narchayen mandra devatam sarva karma palam tasya nishtam yachati devat. If one has been initiated and does not regularly worship his mantras deity, every mantra has a deity. Gopala mantra is actually what? Krishna is a deity, like that. And then similarly you have the other mantras, every mantra has a deity. Then the deities will see that, and okay, so because they will block your advancement. So we must understand that performing Sandhya Vandana is very important. The Shastras also mention about how to prostrate at the feet of the initiating spiritual master. And initiating Guru, out of his mercy, passes a portion of his spiritual power to the disciple. It is priceless. For that, the disciple has no way of paying. No way of repaying. Nothing. Except what? Only thing he can do is what? Giving his full surrender and have faith and godly respect. This sloka explains what should the disciple do immediately after taking initiation. Angikare krite badam tannirajana purvakam deva pujam karayitva diksha karne mandram jabet. At the time of diksha, after being so initiated, the disciple, now completely fulfilled, should rise and then prostrate himself before the spiritual master, placing his head on the Guru's feet, then asking for his blessings. The disciple should give the Guru gifts to the limit of his capacity. Immediately after receiving initiation, the disciple should immediately chant 108 times on the japa beads. This is Maha Mantra. And also, of course, complete that all the the main 8 or 9 mantras also you will do. And the initiating Guru must chant 1008 times. Why 1008 times? Because some of his energy is given. See, giving initiation is not for the sake of the Guru. He is actually sacrificing his life. He is actually giving. It's like cutting your part of your body and then sacrificing. You have to understand that. So the Guru will sit sometime, and for every initiated devotee, he will do 1008 times. This is not easy. Okay, it's not like just like the getting the mala and no, it's not like that. This is how the Shastra says. So the disciple then follow Nyasas and Dhyanas, etc. That the Guru will instruct what they are. So then the disciple must participate in the fire sacrifice that follows the initiation. Now here come some very important things. Before we get into do's and don'ts here today, there are strict rules that we have to follow, rules and regulations. The Guru will tell you that the disciple should not reveal the mantra to anyone, not even to father, mother or spouse, never. Swamandro nopadeshtavyo bhaktavyas chana samsadi gopaniyam tada sastram rakshananiyam sari ravat. One should always keep the mantra and confidential truths given by Guru to oneself. One should never reveal these at any cost. One may ask, what happens if maybe even accidentally I have revealed? Your mantra loses its all power. Finished. Like a flame is now put off. Now you cannot even get the mantra again from another Guru, which is very important. You may say, yeah, okay, I did a mistake. Can I really get that from the Guru again? No way, nothing. Done. Flame is gone. So one must be extremely careful about this. Otherwise, you are jeopardizing yourself only. Always keep, these are 3 things that you have to keep that as a secret. So the Shastras say that these are actually 4 things that need to be really hidden, in fact. 4 things. What are they? One's Ishta Devada. Okay, whatever that you have, because you have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radha Rani is there, Krishna is there, and also the Damodar, different deities and everything, right? Never reveal who is your Ishta Deva. Never. And also you should never tell the name and the details of your Guru who initiated. This is what Shastra says. And the mantra given by Guru, you should never reveal to which we really saw. And you have to chant on the japa beads, not openly inside the beads, because you have to hide your beads. What is the Shastra says that Gopayet, it means you have to hide. Gopayet devatam ishta devatam, you have to hide. Gopayet gurum atmanaha, one who really initiated you, that detail also you should not reveal to anyone. Gopayet nijam mandram, that mantra also you should not reveal. Gopayet nijamalika, malika means japa beads. This is why Gaudiya Vaishnavas always keep their japa beads hidden in the cloth bag. Okay? And also Gaudiya Vaishnavas will chant only on a pure white cloth, not on color. There are a lot of reasons also. Anyway, now the disciples should be devoted to all the Vaishnavas, and in particular to the high class Vaishnavas and Acharyas. He should perform puja to them according to his ability. And one should worship the Guru and Parambara before worshipping the Lord. That is anyway, you will know it. People, there are few of them, who are already initiated. They know all those things. So what is that sloka saying here? Same thing. Vaishnavanam parabhaktir acharyanam visheshatah pujanam chayata sakti tan apannam cha palayet. The disciple should make all efforts to serve the Vaishnavas using his life, energy and wealth, intelligence and words. Basically, when you initiate, your life is becoming different. Your spiritual body is going to grow inside you. It's a different thing. Altogether you are different because you are getting reborn, and slowly that seed sprouts and they really grow and grow. Your spiritual body comes up. Okay, so that is the biggest thing. Okay, so when the spiritual body comes, that person is completely transformed. There are other instructions also when you are doing deity worship. When taking out flowers, offered flowers from the temple or other materials, you should, in that has to be thrown into the waste. You have to be careful. You have to carry them on your head. They should be disposed into running water and never allowed to touch the floor. The devotee must meditate that his or her worshipable deity is there everywhere, in the moon, in the sun, in the cow, in the banyan tree, in the fire, as well as in Guru and the pure devotees. This will come to it's all higher stages. It will take time. And the devotee must never be in a place where one spiritual master is being blasphemed. Because people do gossips, they want to really always gossip about somebody, whatever they always, this is always going on. A initiated devotee should never be in a place where his guru is actually getting what, they are actually, talking about or something. No, you have to completely, get out of the place. The devotee should remember his Ishtadeva all the times when walking, leaving for a trip, during the trip, when giving charity, and as soon as waking up. And a devotee should not reveal any wondrous divine vision, either in dreams or in the waking state, to anyone other than his own guru. People have a habit of, this is the thing, the humans are, the thing is, as soon as they receive a dream, they want to share with everybody. Yes. This is the biggest mistake. Then things will, because your growth will stop. You may see wonderful vision, you may see right there, but never ever reveal other than to your guru. Okay, very important. Only to guru you can really talk about. If you are not initiated by that guru, you have no business of talking about it. Nothing. Otherwise, you will be doomed. Your spiritual progress will be blocked. And last one, strictly follow Ekadasi. Now I am going to go through some of the golden rules. I want to go through very quickly. I am not going to go through each detail and everything. But this is part of the chapter. Rice, okay, this is only for initiated, okay? It may really look really tough. But again, as I said, without pain, there's no gain. Okay? But slowly you will come to the stage, not in the very beginning. Rise during the Brahma Muhurta. Brahma Muhurta means 1.5, 90 minutes before sunrise. It starts there and then, goes for 1.5 hours. And taking a morning bath every day according to the rules. Put on a pair of pure and clean garments. Remember one's personal deity all the times. Make the tilak markings on the forehead with Gopi Chandana. Decorate the body using Gopi Chandana in 12 places. Besides this, total 13. Besides this, you have 12 other marks. Take Charanamrita, the water which has washed the deity. Wear necklace, these Tulasi beads necklace. Wake up the deity during Brahma Muhurta. Means what? Before sunrise you have to wake up the deities and gurus. This is the rule. Not like the 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock as you wish. No, even if you are chanting or something, no, that's not what the Shastra says. You have to wake up the deity, keep them, and then you chant. Not a problem. Perform Mangala Arati to the deity with musical instruments. You have to see at least kartal or something. Some musical instrument you have to use. And you have to do the Mangala Arati at the Mangala Arati time. Brahma Muhurta. Before sunrise. It's actually there are 24 plus 24, 48 minutes before. That's what it is. It's not roughly 1.5 or something, but the thing is, it's really actually 24 minutes plus 24 minutes. That's 48 minutes before the sunrise. Is basically where the Brahma Muhurta starts, and then it goes for that much time. Okay. Now, so the thing is, the Brahma Muhurta is actually very, very important in the sadhana. Golden rules 11 to 20. Remove the leftover flowers from the deity of Krishna and his altar. Don't keep them there for a long time. Smear the deity's used sandalwood on the body as prasada. Worship one's personal deity all the time. Eat Lord's tulasi remnants or to place them on the head. Pick tulasi leaves according to the regulations. Tie one's sika at the beginning of worship or sandhya. Perform Sandhya Vandana. Meditate on mantras 3 times every day, which I told before. Give Charanamrita to the ancestors. So when you do the deity bathing, in addition to what you really take the Charanamrita, also you really offer to the ancestors. Serve the deity in a manner befitting as a king. Oh, you have to treat the deities as king. You are really taking care of them like a king and queen. More than a king, yes. And perform the Nitya Kriya and occasional Naimitika. What are they? Once in a while you have to really probably take care of something, somebody is born or something, somebody left the body, you have to really take care of the, some Kriya, something, some rituals that you may have to do. But do that only what? Only because you have to do it. Okay? But that's not the end of it. You should not get entangled in that one. You have to do that only when it's not against the principle of devotion. Certain things you should not do. Now 21 to 30. Perform Bhuta Suddhi. Before Sandhya Vandana and Puja, you have to clean yourself. Basically, that's what the Bhuta Suddhi means. Offer fresh seasonal fruits and flowers to the Lord. Seasonal fruits and flowers. That's what they really recommend. Then 23. Regularly worship the Tulasi plant. Tulasi Devi. I had to call Tulasi Devi. See, every day morning after our Mangalarati, you have to do the Tulasi Puja. Regularly read and worship Srimad Bhagavatam. Not only read but also worship. In fact, better than that is hearing from a devotee. But that's okay. Then 25. Worship deity 3 times a day. Morning, midday and evening. 26. Daily hear the Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures. Wear the clothes which have been worn by the deity. Of course, we cannot, because if the deity is small, we cannot wear. But usually when it's a big deity or something, whatever the cloth, so you can wear. Accept pious works, all the devotional activities that you are actually doing as an order of the Lord. Preaching or helping someone to really do the spiritual endeavors. You have to do that as an order coming from the Lord. Accept the orders of the spiritual master on one's head. If a spiritual master says something, you have to take that on your head. And have full faith and belief in the words of the spiritual master. Golden rules 31 to 40. Decorate oneself with one's own mudras. Don't worry about that, because mudras means this is something very special higher devotees used to do. Sing devotional songs. Always sing as much as possible. And dance for the deity. This dancing is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu really came down to really show that we have to dance. Almost all the other devotion, they are all meant for selfishness. They do not really want to dance for the deity. If at all they want to dance, they will dance only for themselves. For them to be happy. Or in the marriage they will dance. That is not the dance what we are talking about. Dance for the deity. They love you dancing in front of the deity. 34. Make auspicious sounds by blowing conch. Conch is very favorite for Lord Krishna. Every puja, conch must be blown. Then 35. Put on dramatic performances of Lord's pastime, dramas. You have to do lot of dramas, plays. Perform fire sacrifices according to the spiritual regulation periodically. Maybe once in maybe once in a month or something, whatever. This really helps a lot. Make food offerings to the deity. Of course, this is the purpose of having a deity. Invite saintly persons and devotees into one's own home. Perform puja to them too. Take remnants of food offered to the deities and also from Vaishnavas. Golden rules 41 to 52. Honor the remnants of offerings to the deity. Associate with Vaishnavas. This is called satsang. Satsanga is very important. Inquire into religious duties connected with devotional service. You have to always talk about these things, not all the nonsense. And follow the particular fasting rules, Ekadashi fasting, and also Janmashtami, Ramanavami, all the different kinds of fasting. You have to follow the particular way that these need to be followed. Observe the Vaishnava feasts and holy days and go on pilgrimage. Okay, this is actually, yes, Vaishnava feasts are what? Those are the special occasions. Birth in appearance day of, Vaishnavas and all those. And holy days, or, there are more holy days too. And then go on pilgrimage. Every year go for, Navadvip Parikrama. Or, the Brindavan Parikrama. Like that, Brajamandal Parikrama. Like that you have to go. Observe 8 special days. What are they? Those are basically all the Ekadasis. Then, then Janmashtami and Ramanavamis, and there are so many actually coming there again. So these are the 8, there are specially 8 days. Make offerings and service to deity according to each season. Seasonally you have to really worship. Follow all the special Vaishnava observances. Think of the spiritual master as God himself. And take care of the Tulasi Devi and daily collect her leaves. And now comes prohibitions. These prohibitions are, okay, so those things what I really, mentioned from the chapter are do's. These are don't do's. Sleeping at dusk or dawn. Okay, so this is the thing. As soon as sun gets up, you have to get out of the bed. Lately, of course, you have to get before that. The Brahma Muhurta, you have to really go and then worship the deities. That means you are actually supposed to get up early. If anyone is getting up after the sun is seen, he is the biggest thing. He is spiritually he is very low. And also dawn. Like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, when it is about to really sunset, that also time we should not sleep. And not taking bath after going to the toilet. If you are going to the toilet, you have to take bath. Especially when you are actually doing deity worship. Perform achamana when standing. We should never do the achamana by standing. You have to sit and take the achamana. And you should never sit on the guru's seat. Whatever the seat your guru has, sitting is guru, you should never sit on. Sit before also, you should not sit before the spiritual master with his legs spread out like that. Never. And you should not step across the spiritual master's shadow. Like similar to the Tulasi Maharani. Remember when we worship Tulasi, on the shadow we should never actually cross. You should never step on. Not only the leaves, of course, that is actually too bad even. So similarly you should not step across the spiritual master's shadow. Then only the spiritual, the devotion will grow. Miss the morning bath you should never miss the morning bath. This morning bath is not just a body bath, for the whole head to toe. You should never miss your daily worship of the deity. And you should never forget to awaken the deity and spiritual master in the morning and greet them. Make a display. You should never make a display of your learning before the spiritual master. Because in front of any spiritual master, an initiated disciple is a fool. That is the attitude you should have. Then the mercy will flow like crazy. Because the problem is, everybody, you have a plate. You are really trying to really collect something. And if your plate is full of all the filthy things, where will you collect the mercy? It has to be empty. If it is empty and the vessel has to be bigger too, right? Then you can collect more. So the more you are actually inclined to you are surrendering to the initiating Guru, the mercy will flow more. But if you come with your full of plate of junk, how will you really, anything can really fit there? That's exactly what it is. You should never make a display of your learning at all. You may know a lot of things, but you have to keep your mouth shut. And sit on his hands before the spiritual master. You should not sit on any position that you like. This is not accepted. Applying tilak on without uttering the proper mantra. Om Keshavaya Namaha, Om Narayana Namaha, Om Madhava. So you have all the mantras. You have to really chant whenever you are applying the tilak on your body. Also doing Achamana without uttering the proper mantra. Because every time you do the Achamana, you have to utter the mantra. Om Keshavaya Namaha, Narayana Namaha, like that. Then you should never ever wear blue cloth dress. Why? Blue cloth dress is meant for Radharani. And it is also have a lot of special purpose. So we should not really wear that. Also the color of Krishna is also blue. And Radharani wears that, for so many reasons. So we should not wear blue dress at all, especially in worshipping deity. You should never make friendship with non-devotees. So many non-devotees will actually try to really talk to you. Throw them out. You should never have friendship. Reading texts which do not teach devotional service, you should avoid. At all the internet and here and no, you should not. If it is not devotional, throw it out. You should never get attached to trivial matters and for pleasures. You should never eat meat or drink alcoholic beverage. That is another thing altogether coming anyway, but this is listed. Never take any stimulants such as coffee or tea. Never eat red lentils, masura, and other tamasic foods. And eating any tamasic food is allowed. Sorry, any tamasic food is not allowed. You should never eat any tamasic food. Prohibition 12 to 21. Applying tilak on... Okay, yeah, that's what we did. 22. Okay. Now, this is 22 to 32. Okay, you may think it's bizarre, but look at what the Lord is promising to you. All your sins are gone. And not only that, all your ancestors are all liberated. And prohibition 22 to 32, to eat any foods given by a non-devotee. You should never ever eat. And you should not follow any vrata other than that is related to Krishna. You should not chant any other mantra except that is given by Guru. You should not engage in any kind of black magic. In South India, so many black magics are there. It's called Marana. Marana means, they will do black magic to kill someone. Uchatana means to cause someone distress. Or Vasikarana means to bring someone under their control. If anybody is trying to do it on a Vaishnava, they are doomed, finished. That is Krishna is protecting. So we should never ever engage in that anyway, at all. 26. To worship the deity with inferior ingredient, the thing is, you should always get the fresh thing and the new things when one is capable. And we should never cry or in grief, especially in front of deity. You have to accept anything coming there, that is because of my karma. And to observe Ekadasi when it overlaps on Tasami. To differentiate between different kinds of Ekadasi, waxing fortnight or the waning fortnight, because we should not differentiate at all. To engage in illegal business practices or to gamble. To eat fruits and vegetables on the fasting day if capable of really fasting completely. And to perform Shraddha ceremony on Ekadasi. We should never ever perform Shraddha ceremony for ancestors on Ekadasi day. And 33 to 42. To day sleep on Dwadasi day, to pick tulasi leaves on Dwadasi, to give bath to deities on Dwadasi, to perform Shraddha with other than Krishna Prasada, because we have to always use Krishna Prasada for when we are doing Shraddha and then give it to ancestors. To perform Vritti Siddha without tulasi leaves, everywhere tulasi leaf is important. to perform a religious ceremonies with a non-Vaishnava priest. You should never perform any religious ceremonies without a with a non-Vaishnava priest. And to take Achamana after having okay, suppose you really give a deity, the bathing to the deity, you take Charanamrita. After that, you should not take Achamana. And to worship the Lord while sitting on a wooden seat, you have to put a cloth. Cloth is the best. And to engage in useless conversation when performing deity worship. When the deity worship is going on, there is no other business except concentrating only on the puja. No other talk, nothing. No other thinking, complete concentration. And also don't worship deities by giving any flower you like, especially the poisonous flowers. The last one. Oh, this is actually not 105, it's actually 43 to 53. To use things made of iron should not be there. To wear horizontal tamasic mark like the Shaivites, because they do like this. This is tamasic. That is the ash. It's really coming from, because supposed to be coming from the mashana. No, actually, no. We are sattvic. This is the food. This is actually the food of Lord Krishna. We should not really go like this. We have to go up, not like this. So also to use any impure or unwashed item in worship of the deity. Everything, whatever we are actually offering the deity should be pure and washed. And to do deity worship with unattentive mind. We should not think about anything else when you are doing worship. And to pay obeisance with only one hand, or to circumambulate only one time. No, you have to do 3 times. To offer the deity with contaminated or leftover foodstuffs, never ever think about it. To chant mantra given by Guru without counting number of items, except Maha Mantra. Maha Mantra you can actually keep on chanting. All the other Diksha Mantra you have to chant by just on your hand. Okay, that the Guru will tell. To reveal one's given mantra to anyone, we really saw that. Then missing sadhana due to engaging in some other act. Something else comes and you really miss the sadhana. That's not good. And to engage in performing sadhana at times other than what is prescribed. And to show reluctance to take Krishna Prasada. Now, prohibition in the Kali Yuga, there are a lot of things also prohibited. So, in a nutshell, I will tell you, the performance of horse sacrifice is completely not at all allowed in Kali Yuga. Cow sacrifice is absolutely no. Why? Because the way in Vedas, they do the cow sacrifice was to test the mantra. They sacrifice a cow and then they chant the mantra in the reverse. That cow will come back to life. That was how the Vedic it was for to really test the mantra. But nowadays there is no one can actually chant the mantra that powerful. So it's all not allowed. And you should never offer any meat to forefathers. You will be finished. And the custom of having there are so many of them. So now we are actually going to go and then we have to really finish it quick. How Guru and Lord Hari are identical. Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Sastre Ukta Tada Bhavyata Eva Satvihi Kindu Prabhorya Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Sri Charanara Vindam. We actually sing this every day. So this meaning is, I worship the lotus feet of my spiritual master, who is said by all the scriptures to be Lord Hari himself. And is indeed thought of that way by all the saints. But this identity is due to his being very dear to the Lord. So the reason why they are treated identically is that the Guru is very dear to the Lord. So, O mind, please worship Sri Guru. Mukunda praise tattva smaraparam ajasram nanu manaha. O mind, you always worship the Sri Guru. So think of Guru as the one who is the most dear to Mukunda. All the devas are supposed to be residing in the body of Sri Guru. Acharyam mam vinyaniyan navamanyeta karhichit na martya bhutya suyeta sarvadeva mayo guru. Know that the Guru to be me. So this is I said by Lord Krishna. Me, my very self. I never disdain him, never disrespect him, never think of him as an ordinary man. For the Guru is the sum total of all the demigods. Lord Krishna even snatches a food. I will tell you a story. Here is one such story that happened. just about 500 years ago, not long. But one of them was actually Sridhara. His name was Kola Vecha Sridhara. He is none other than the incarnation of Kusuma Savaha, one of the 12 famous cowherd boys. So when he descended with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took he traded banana and banana products for a living. So Kola means banana. That's why he was called Kola Vecha, which is Sridhara. Now, in Mahaprabhu's nectarian pastime, Kola Vecha was a very poor man who wore shredded cloths and lived in a broken hut with leaks all over the roof. So there will be more rain inside the roof, inside the home, than outside. Kola Vecha was so impoverished that he slept on the floor and drank from a broken water pot. He did not even have a small pot to really drink. That brass cup had so many holes that he could not even close properly with all his 10 fingers. When he wants to drink something from the cup, what? He has to hold it, and from the mud pot, he will pour some water there, and he will hold it in such a way that it's not leaking. Then he really quickly drinks. This was how he had to drink, because he was so poor. He could not afford anything. Sometimes Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to come and tease him. Because, he actually Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes and he immediately goes to that particular brass cup only. He will grab it and pour water, and closing this thing, he will drink. And Sridhara will be shouting, I am doomed, don't drink from there. Why are you drinking? He will shout and shout. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu won't mind. He will drink from that. Look at here. How Lord and his devotees are related. But Kola Vecha, however, was hidden about Mahaprabhu's identity. It was a purpose. Remember, Yashoda did not know that actually Krishna was actually the God himself, supreme. It was hidden by Yoga Maya. The same way, Mahaprabhu's identity was hidden from Sridhara. And Mahaprabhu visited him, and whenever he is visiting Sridhara, he used to really tease again. Oh Sridhara, you chant the holy name of Lord Hari incessantly, all the time you are chanting. But yet why are you so poor? You serve the husband of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, yet you are always in need of food and clothing. Because what kind of clothes? All torn out. But Sridhara replies immediately, Mahaprabhu, oh Brahmana, because he doesn't know that he is the Supreme Lord because of Yoga Maya. Remember, always, whenever you get any vision or anything, this thing of the Lord, you will not feel that opulence at the time. He will put the Yoga Maya. Okay, this is very important. Okay, so he is saying, no, oh Brahmana, no, I do not starve. I am able to cover my body with cloths. It may not be the best piece of cloth to wear, but they cover my body regardless. That's good enough. I'm able to cover most of my body. Not a problem. So Mahaprabhu taunted him again saying, yes, I see that your cloths are ripped at several places. You got so many holes. I am also aware that there is no rice in your house. And there is no rat at all. Why there is no rat in your home? Because there is no rice. But look at your neighborhood. All are worshipping goddess Chandi, Durga Devi. They are very prosperous. They are very rich. None of them have any shortage of food or clothing. But Sridhara replied, you have spoken well, O Brahmana. But please note that everyone's life is more or less alike. The king may stay in his palace, surrounded by great opulence, and he may eat nicely. On the other hand, the birds survive in their trees. Everyone's approach towards their life is similar. We all are engaged in our respective duties only by the will of the Lord. If the Lord wants me to be living like this, I will leave that. That's not a problem at all. And several occasions, even Sridhar, he used to refuse. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forcefully used to take some banana flowers. Yeah, you can see that in the picture right there. He will come and then grab it and run away. And Sridhar will scold him. You, Brahmana, you don't have any etiquette. The thing is, you never pay for this one, and so on. And what does he do? Whatever the profit that he gets, 50% he is giving for doing Tulasi the Arati for Ganga. Only 50% he takes. He may take maybe 10 paisa, 20 paisa, let us say that's all he will get the profit. But 50% is going to Ganga worship. This is how the devotees and the Lord are intimately related. I don't want to go through this one because now we are running out of time. You all know that the story of Sudama, because his wife wanted some help, she begged her husband to go to Krishna. But Sudama did not go to Krishna for asking anything. As the Shastras say, that one should not go empty-handed when visiting a guru or god, deity or temple. So his wife made a small bundle of boga with a torn cloth. When Sudama met Krishna, looking at the opulence of the palace of Lord Krishna, my God, all gold and gold and gold, he was so ashamed that he did not even want to show the silly gift that he brought. It's a little poha because they are very poor. So he hid it under the arm. But what happened? The Lord recognized. He was demanding, my Bobby must have given something for me. Where is it? Sudama, where is it? Where is it? Show me. And then what happened? Lord Krishna was approaching Sudama. Give me, because Bobby must have given something for me. So Sudama was running in circles. No. She didn't give anything. He's just running around. Then finally Lord Krishna caught him and forcefully snatched the poha, which he was hiding under the arm, and took it. And he opened it and ate it. That was what actually, remember, because then because of that one bunch of boha, his wife and children, everybody got palaces and palaces immediately. Why? What? Rukmini, he arranged. But when Krishna was about to take another bunch, Rukmini caught hold of the hand. No more. Because by doing that, we already had to supply all the opulence, all the rich to them, or everything, whatever we can. If you eat another one in this mood, then we have to become servants for them. Please stop. So, look at here again. Lord Krishna forcefully snatched. Kari kaya abhaktera travya prabhu ulati na chaya. He does not even have a look at the food offered by a non-devotee, uninitiated devotee. In this world, a dear relation to Lord is achieved only by getting initiation and serving a Vaishnava. And love is the only one that Krishna looks at. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti ubhagirtam ashnami prayatat tatmanaha. If a devotee with a pure loving heart offers me a leaf, a fruit, a flower, or some water with devotion, I gladly accept. Because there are bhaktya comes 2 times in this loka. So, but this love cannot be established overnight. We have to go through sadhana to purify ourselves. We cannot straight away come from out of the mud because our heart is really covered by mud. So, by taking initiation from a spiritual master and surrendering, this is why, that the Shastra says you have to surrender to a guru and then getting initiation and then you serve Vaishnavas and the Lord through guru, and we have to follow the rules and regulations which we described today and avoid all the prohibitions that we really saw today. Mercy from guru and Vaishnavas is crucial for this. We should beg for their mercy. It's a summary of today's class and then we are going to conclude. So what is the facts? Devotional life needs initiation, and also we really talked about the initiation process, and we also talked about the position of guru and the rules to follow and the prohibitions, and Lord and guru are very dear. But then what are the actions? Only lucky peoples will actually get a guru. So surrender to an authentic guru and keep the mantras and all very secret and follow the rules and avoid the prohibitions. Okay, all right. So we are exactly on time now. Okay, thank you so much. And any questions?